Hi everyone, I'm back with a baking video. No, it's been a while. Today this is a apple spice cake. I'm going to be making it into cupcakes this time, but I typically make this as a 2-layer cake, either in a 9-inch pan or in a 5-inch pan. But today I'm going to be making 24 cupcakes out of this. And it's just a great little fall cake. So first thing we're going to need, let me look at my directions, is we need 2 cups of sugar. And put it in your big mixing bowl. So 1, 2. All right. Then we're going to need half a cup of vegetable oil, but I'm going to use a blend of peanut oil and avocado oil because I try to not use vegetable oil. So, 1/4 cup of avocado oil and 1/4 cup of peanut oil. All right. And these little spouts and tops you can buy, I believe they were on Etsy. I'll see if I can find the link because they're great for things like oils and other liquids that you want to keep in jars. So we'll add that in to our mix. All right. Then we need 2 teaspoons of vanilla. If you don't have these measuring spoons, I love them. I use them all the time. I have this size and then I have the smaller one. And they are great because you can change the size. So like making this cake, I'll use this one big one and the little one, and that'll be it. I won't have, 6 or 8 little measuring spoons that I have to wash. All right, so then we're going to stop. We're going to put our paddle on here. All right, we'll give that a spin for just a minute, just to get that kind of combined. All right, now we'll add our 2 eggs. So this is a cake, this is an oil-based cake and not a butter-based cake. So I won't be putting any butter into this cake. I always save my eggshells. You'll see me put those back in the box. I'm going to wash my hands real quick. But I always save my eggshells because I crush them up and then use them in my garden as added calcium. Right, we'll give this a mix. That looks good. I'm going to move you for a second while I get my vinegar out of the cabinet. Because I forgot I need to make some buttermilk. So, in order to make buttermilk, I never have buttermilk on hand. So, in order to make buttermilk, you just take your regular milk and then add a dash of vinegar. So I think the measurements are if you need a cup of buttermilk, you add a tablespoon of white vinegar to it. So I need a 1/2 cup of buttermilk for this recipe. So I'm going to put just under 1/2 cup in my measuring cup. And then a dash of white vinegar to bring me up to a 1/2 cup. Now, I don't want to just dump this right into my recipe. I'm going to set this over to the side and let it separate the milk like it's supposed to. Okay, so next thing we need to do is add our flour. So we're going to bring this up, and I'll bring you over here so you can see a little bit better. Right, I need 2 cups of flour, and I'm not going to put all the flour in at once. So I'm going to add 1 cup of flour, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my other ingredients, my other dry ingredients. So I need 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I also keep that in jars to keep it nice and fresh. And I like to put all of my ingredients that I've used off to the side so I know I've used them. Next thing is a little bit of salt. I need 1 teaspoon of salt. Then I need pumpkin pie spice, which I also never have on hand because I just have the individual spices. So here's how I make pumpkin pie spice. You need a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, 3/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. And that's what makes this very spice cake-esque. So now we're going to go ahead and give this a little bit of a mix. And I'm going to go ahead and you can see hold on. You can see how my buttermilk has gotten foamy and it's kind of changed texture there. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of my buttermilk, probably half of it. You can see how it became chunky there. And we'll give this a mix. Alright, now before I add this next round, I want to make sure I scrape the bottom and that there's no sugar hanging out down there or other dry ingredients, that everything is mixed properly. Alright. Okay. Now I'll go ahead and add the rest of my flour and decorate my mixer. And I'll go ahead and add the rest of my milk. Alright. We'll give this a mix. And once it comes together, you can turn it up. Okay, now that that's nice and smooth, I'm going to get this off of here. We're done with the mixer part. So we'll take this off, give it a good clean. It smells just like fall in here. All right. And now I have my canned apples. So I like to dice up apples and can them in the fall so that I have them for recipes like this. And I'll show you what they look like. I actually might need 2 jars. So it calls for 4 cups of diced apples. So there's one. I think I'm gonna have to go get a second jar, which is fine. Oop, I'm making a mess. There's 2. I actually may just do fewer apples in this because I'm making cupcakes, so I don't want them to be too wet. So I think that 2.5 cups will be enough. Let's see once we mix it in. Usually you'd put in 4. Let's see what it looks like. But these apples being canned, they're a little more wet than your fresh chopped apples would be. So I think I'd rather just go with them like they are. All right, so I'm gonna get my area kind of cleaned up a little bit here and get my cupcake tin over here, and I'll be right back. So here's how I like to fill my cupcake liners. So these are pumpkin fall liners, trying to be a little festive. So I take my ice cream scoop, and this is the larger one. So it's about 2.5 inches in diameter. And I just put it in and fill it up like that. So it's basically just level. And then, actually I'm going to do a little bit less since this has chunks of apples in it. Do about half a scoop worth to start with and see how this looks and see how liquidy this batter is. That tells me that I didn't want to put more apples in it. Hopefully these will do okay as cupcakes. Like I said, I've never made them as cupcakes before. They make a really, really good cake. So I'm hoping they will do okay as cupcakes. But the fruit, we will see. Sometimes your wetter cupcakes stick to your cupcake liner more. So they're a little bit harder to peel when you're ready to eat them. But we will see what happens. So I have a little bit more than I want to put in cupcake pans. So I'm going to spray up my pan here. Also get some on top of my cupcakes apparently. That's okay. And we will dump the rest into this little pan. This is one of your little, I think it's a 5-inch pan. We'll have to check, but it's either 5 or 6. Put this in the sink. Alright, so we'll take what's left in here. Because I don't like really full cupcakes. I don't like them to balloon up so bad because I want to decorate these. So I don't need them flat, but I also don't want them domed up like muffins either. So we had plenty of batter to also make a little cake, which my roommate will love because this is her favorite cake. I actually was supposed to make one for her birthday and wasn't able to, so here we go. Happy birthday. So, get this in the oven along with the cupcakes. My oven is preheated to 350. And let's see, it should take about 35 minutes. But I'm going to keep an eye on them since they're cupcakes and they're a little bit thinner. But I think I'll start probably at the 30-minute mark and see what they look like. Here are the cupcakes out of the oven. You can see I could have filled them a little bit more. I probably could have used at least half of what I used for the cake and filled them up a little bit more, but I didn't know how much they were going to rise as cupcakes, so that's okay. Good to know. My cake, a little rough for wear, but it'll work for what I need it to do. But I've got my cupcakes over in my to-go tray here. I like to go ahead and move them before I decorate them. That way I don't mess them up trying to move them. So now is going to be on to the decorating phase. Alright, so we're going to get started here on the icing because I like to have the icing chilling in the fridge and letting it set up before I work on my cupcakes. So I already have 1 8-ounce block of cream cheese and a stick of butter in here, and those have been softened. And I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. And see how you can just slide that, and now I have a 1/2 teaspoon. Just perfect. Alright, put this down, and I'm going to let this blend until it's nice and smooth. Lift it up and scrape the sides down. My butter could have been a little softer, but I think we'll make it work. All right. So I like to get my cream cheese and butter really fluffy before I add any sugar or dry ingredients. And I found that going ahead and adding the vanilla to it when I'm at this stage helps everything soften a little bit better and blend a little better. I'm gonna give it one more whirl here. Alright, so next I need to add 1 cup of brown sugar. And 1/3 of a cup is what fits in here, so I'm using 1/3 of a cup. 1, 2. Alright. Now I like to store my dry goods in things like jars, especially things like powdered sugar and brown sugar that I don't use on a daily basis. because I don't want moisture or bugs getting to them. So I also now need 1 cup of powdered sugar, but I'm going to start by just adding 2/3 of a cup and see what I think about the consistency. Let's go around the edges, get everything, make sure there's nothing stuck to the bottom. Get icing all over your fingers. All right. Give this another whirl. Alright, now what I want to do is find out, I don't know that it needs more. So see how stiff that is? So once I get it cold, I think it's going to be okay. So see, it has a, well, it's hard for me to really show you, but see here how it's kind of thick enough to make a peak like that? That's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to cover this up, put it in the fridge, let it get nice and cool, and then by the time my cupcakes get out of the oven and cool down enough, this will be nice and set, so that I can decorate them. So for this next part, I have my icing that had been chilling in the fridge. I have a, this is just a disposable from Wilton piping bag. Then I have a, this is, I believe, a 2A, yeah, a 2A Wilton piping tip that looks like that. So just round with no edges. And what I like to do to fill my bag is I like to take and bend it up like this, stick it down in the bag, and it's down in the cup, sorry, and then flip it over like so, open it up, and then fill it up. And a lot of times this gets super messy, so just be ready for it. Sometimes it's kind of nice to just shake it down. Alright, and then we'll bring our bag up a little bit more, so we have a little more space. Like so. This is very sticky icing, so it's kind of hard to get it down in the bag where you want it. Alright, that is probably going to be enough for these cupcakes. Set that off to the side. Now, what I like to do is get it out of the cup, and take the end and clasp it like that and get it really tight. You can even twist it if you want to, and you see you have all this space. Now what I do is I take this and I spin it around, out here unfortunately where you can't see, but I spin it around and get all that icing to go down into the end. The key is to do it without making it come out the bottom and making a mess. And you want to try and get it all together so you don't have any air pockets. All right. We'll let some air out of the back. You can see I have some bubbles here. I'll let that air go out of the back and then tighten up. You can see now it's made it all the way down. I do have some air bubbles in there, but I think we'll be okay. It's kind of hard. Cream cheese frosting is so thick and sticky that it's kind of hard to prevent that from happening. So all I do is twist the end, and I have small hands, so I just put my hand on the end like this and then use the other one to guide it. So I'll show you, and you probably won't be able to see too well from above, but I'll try to show you in a little bit. Oh, a lot, I guess. Hold on. There we go. All right. Give it a try. I always like to start from the outside. Now I'm not putting a lot of icing on these because my dad likes lower sugar things. So I'm just putting a little. I'm not going all the way to the edge because I find that it's harder for people to pick them up and deal with them if you do that. Alright, so I had way more than I needed. Still have a ton left. And I will show you from down here what they look like. Kind of like little marshmallows, I guess. Little Michelin men. And I will probably add some sprinkles. Give me a second.